Hi, I'm Peter PT Townend. Not only am I the first world surfing champ, but I love this sport right here in Huntington Beach. We're going to celebrate the sport, its culture, lifestyle, and the amazing surfers that came before and after me that hit the waves around the world, including here in Surf City. We're going to share the PT collection with you on Surf Scene.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Surf Scene with PT. Wow, do I have a great guest for us tonight. He, like I always like to do, I did my little collage. Our guest tonight is Joey Buran. He's just about done everything, kind of mimicked me a little bit. He's been a pipe master, he's been in the WSL tour as we know it today for many, many years. He was the first Californian actually to really hit it on the world tour. After he got done with that, and before, he won the Pipe Masters. Now, it doesn't get bigger than winning the Pipe Masters other than winning the world title. And then he started the PSAA. That became the Bud Surf Tour. That's where that became the Bud Surf Tour, and of course, it was really popular. And then he went on to coaching. He coached the American team to win gold medals. And today he's a pastor, and it's my privilege to have Joey Buran here tonight.
BT, great to be with you, my coach and friend. Nice to see you, man. Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to go back to the early days, the 70s, when you're a kid. And you came to California in 72.
Yes.
And you grew up down in the South County, or North County, South County?
North County.
North County.
Oceanside area.
Yeah, so, and your running mate was DB, David Barr.
The legend, David Barr.
And you guys had dreams after seeing surf movies, right, that you were going to be pro surfers.
Yeah, we had big dreams, and it's just a perfect, one of those things you can't explain, but how do these two kids from military families, we end up in Carlsbad, we're a year apart, and as I really got excited about surfing in the summer of 73, I got my first surfboard in March of 73, and I already had a dream to be like a great pro surfer. As you know, there was no pro tour back then. There were a few pro events already. But
Gypsy tour, we called it.
Yeah. And so the surf magazines were every other month, and I would read everything, the editorials, the letters, every word and every ad. And at the same time, David Barr was coming along. So by the end of the summer of 73, they're at Tamarack. If the ocean's in front of me and we're at Tamarack, the lower parking lot, the main peak's this right, and they call the left over here that runs toward it Spotland. And I would surf the left at Spot, and he'd surf the main peak at Tamarack. It would be coming toward each other, and we just couldn't help but notice each other. And he had a beaver tail wetsuit. Remember when we had the beaver tails?
Mate.
And that was cool. And David always had a really smooth style where I was just kind of spastic and erratic. And we became the best of friends, and we had the same dream. And that following school year, like 73, 74, we had like a pact where we would, on Saturday mornings, we'd meet like at 4:30 in the morning by Carlsbad High School. He'd skateboard from his house and I'd skateboard from mine, and we'd meet and we'd get down there to Tamarack in the dark. And we just had this idea that if we were the first ones out there, we were the ones that were going to succeed. Early bird, early worm. And we just believed that we were going to be pro surfers. And of course, we go see the surf movies at La Palma Theater, like 5 Summer Stories. Oh my goodness, BT. Sam Hawk on that big left, 5 Summer Stories. I'm like, this is my life. So I would watch Jerry Lopez in those movies, and he'd watch Jeff Hackman, because he's a regular foot and I'm a goofy foot.
Like me. I watched Jeff Hackman.
Yeah, right, yeah. And so we pushed each other, and we just rode the wave together all the way through the WSA, because it was before the days of NSSA, right to the IPS tour. Burrell and Benavides were in the South Bay coming along at the same time. They're our rivals. A little bit later, Lamas showed up in 79, 80, and then the rest is, California pro surfing history. But we had each other to push each other, and boy, we were surf rascals.
Well, I'm going to make everyone laugh because we dug up some footage of you and Barr back in those days. So we're going to take a look at that right now.
Joey's surfing life really got going in Carlsbad, California, where he and his childhood surf buddy David Barr surfed nonstop.
That's how it was, but Barr was key, because when I went into 7th grade and he was in 6th grade, we would meet on Saturday mornings, like at 4:30 in the morning, between our two houses, and we would skateboard to Tamarack in the dark.
Yeah, well, can you believe that? David Barr and Joey Buran ripping back in the days before a big moment happened for you. So you got on the tour, you went to Brazil, and you won the Waimea 5000. And it was a huge statement. That's when they started calling you the California Kid.
Yeah, well, there's a series of events, PT, because as you know, the tour was absolutely, unequivocally dominated by Australians. You had Sean for South Africa, Michael Ho, it's before Potter came on, and a few of those Hawaiians, Hans Hedemann, Dane, but it was an Australian world. It was the epicenter, and there were so many great Australians. In fact, when I got on the Pro Junior in '79, I got smoked at Narrabeen by guys I didn't even know. Glenn Winton, Richard Cram. I didn't know who these people were. I knew Tom Carroll and Shane Horan, but these other guys, and they all became like Hall of Famers. So what happened when I won Brazil was perfect timing because, as you know, the tour would go to South Africa and then Brazil. And I never did that well in South Africa, and I didn't. But Apador Beach was a little left point break, and it was kind of conducive to my hyperactive.
Oh, yeah, I surfed there.
Yeah, yeah. And the Brazilians appreciate passion, and Joey Buran had passion. But I caught a huge break because back then, you know this, but maybe your viewers don't, we had the top 16 and everybody else. So the way the tour worked back then is the top 16 were seeded from the year before, and then everybody else surfed these trials. So there might be 60 surfers in the trials, or in Australia, like 200. And you have to go through all these heats to become one of those 16 qualifiers. And then you'd match up against the seeds. Well, up until that time, I was always a qualifier. But what happened with Brazil is, because Brazil was kind of the Wild West of surfing and kind of sketchy, you know, it was kind of a sketchy place. A number of Australians, after the Durban events in South Africa, they went back to Australia. So when they had the seeds for Brazil, I was like 28th the year before. They went that far down the ratings to get me a seed. So I was a top 16 seed in Brazil based upon the previous year's ratings, and that gave me that opportunity, and I got Brazilian, which sounds intimidating now, but back then the Brazilians had not become as strong as they are. So I had Frederico Duray, the legend,
oh, yeah.
and Daniel Freeman, Roberto Valerio, Ismael Miranda. I had all these Brazilians, and the Brazilian crowd watched me beat their heroes one heat after another. And then I had Shane Horan in the semis, and it was a close heat, and I wasn't so sure.
Yeah, well, he would have been a favourite down there because he had won before. He beat me in '78 in the final, right? And so he was a hero down there.
And of course, Shane was a fantastic small wave surfer. And when I beat Shane, he was so mad. And then I beat Ismael Miranda in the final. And Shane was so upset. There's a great surf story because about 3 years later, I'm in Narita Airport, Japan, randomly coming back from Bali. Somehow Shane's there, and it's just me and him. And he goes, "Come on, mate, just admit I beat you in Brazil." I thought, Shane, it's been about 3 years. I think we should move on from that. But I'll never admit that he beat me, but we know it's a subjective sport, and it was close.
So from that, though, right after that, you're in the Pipe Masters and you make the final, you know, like against your hero, Jerry Lopez.
Yeah, so we know that life is about opportunities and taking advantage of opportunities. And for my career was just one, I recognize opportunities. And George Salvador, the publisher of Breakout Magazine back in the day, who you would know, he said this about Joey Buran. He said, "You can't explain it, but some people just somehow will it in the moment that it matters most." And Buzzy Kerbox was kind of like that. And they just make it happen.
Right.
And I had lucky break after lucky break. But the thing is, I took advantage of those breaks. And again, I won Brazil. I didn't have to beat Simon Anderson, Peter Townend, Ian Cairns, and Sean Thompson when I won Brazil. I had to beat Brazilians that weren't as good as those guys. But I seized the moment. And even so with the Pipe Masters, when I made some finals before I won it, it just seems like I always capitalize on opportunity. And particularly, my first Pipe Masters, I would have been eliminated that first heat. There were 6-man heats and top 3, but Jim Banks, I beat Jim Banks because he just had the misfortune of, you know, Michael Ho dropped in on him a couple times and there was no interferences called. You rolled your eyes because you have to know Hawaii in this late 70s. And I got through that heat. And then the next thing I know, the next heat I beat Roy Russell, perfect pipe. I get the barrels of my life. I'm in the finals with Joey Lopez. So I would say my career as a Hall of Fame career really was just one of those guys that cashed in when opportunity knocked.
Right. So we go a few years forward of that, and now you're in the Pipe Masters again. You've been doing the world tour, getting some results, hanging in the 16, and you get to the Pipe Masters in '84.
Right.
And now it's another chance to fulfill that dream about, I'm going to be a Pipe Master.
Yeah. Well,
and it's big.
it is.
It's big,
was
but there's
scary.
some crispy ones.
There were. So for those viewers that don't know, in the 70s and 80s, the Hui was just such a factor, and the Hui, they called them the black shorts.
Right.
And you knew like Dane, you knew all like Ho and those guys, but it's kind of the Marvin Foster and Mickey Nielsen guys. You didn't
I
know.
remember we had a 9-man final with buttons because of that.
And the Hui, they would wear, what the Hawaiians would do is they wear these black shorts. It was very intimidating. I told anyone that came to Hawaii for the first time, like a Scott Farnsworth or those guys, whatever you do, you see those trunks, never get in their way, okay? So in that era leading up to me winning the pipeline in '84, you kind of had to beat the Hui.
Right.
To win the Pipe Masters, you had to first beat the Hui, and then you had to beat the World Tour, the Bronze Aussies, and all those guys.
We were gone by then.
But Shane Duran, Tom Carroll.
You had an unbelievable group of Aussies still in
and
there.
Aki was coming on.
Well, no, Aki was in that one final that we were talking about, and we're gonna at the end of this show we're gonna finish it with Lord Blear's introducing this final and the guys in it. But I want to also get to what you're doing today.
Yeah.
And
happy to.
After you did a little bit of coaching and you won some gold medals for the USA, you became a pastor during that period of time.
Yes.
And your pastorship motivating kids to win gold medals. But even more so now, you recently finished a great book with our late friend Bob Yaling.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that book project.
Well, it kind of capsulizes what I'm doing now and where I'm going in the future. Is the book's called Beyond the Dream, because after I won the Pipe Masters in '84, it just couldn't seem to find like that same purpose and drive. Maybe it was the same for you after you won the world title, but I'm like...
I had a bunch of kids. That was my drive.
Well, I just wasn't sure what to do with my life. It was so defined from the time I was 13. My dream was so absolute. So I kind of meandered for a few years. As you said, I started the PSAA, the Bud Tour. But in the end, by '87, I've been raised Catholic, so I always believed in God. I just came to a place where I just felt like I had to commit my life to Christ to really know what I was supposed to do. And through that, eventually I became a pastor. And I ended up, Matt Warshaw said this in Encyclopedia Surfing, Joey Buran won the Pipe Masters, and he moved inland, and who can blame him? So I love Matt Warshaw, and he said that.
Well, you have a copy of the book right there.
Yeah, so the book's right here. And so Beyond the Dream is where, how my life went from being, Ichiban, #1, the California kid, to being the servant of all in 37 years now of ministry, and I've been married 37 years. I've got 4 kids and 9 grandkids. So,
9 grandkids?
Hey, PT, I got to win.
You're way ahead of me.
I got to beat you, man. But it's just been an incredible journey of faith and friendships like ours. And in the midst of that, even when I was a pastor, I was asked to coach the U.S. surf team, and I came in after you did. And in '07, we never won gold. Then about 10 years later, that was with Chloe and Dino and Courtney. And about 10 years later, they bring me back, and with Katie Simmers and Cole Hauschman and Cade Matson, these guys, Sawyer Lindblad, we win gold. I became a world champion. So that was like the crown jewel of that. And again, George Salvador, how do you explain Joey Buran, and how does it happen? And we won the gold. I actually coached the Olympic program for a while, and then it was too much to do the church and the coaching. It was 2 full-time jobs. Brett Simpson came in and took it over and won gold with Carissa Moore. So I had quite a journey, and I'm 63 now, and I've been going out with the book. I've done surf museum signings, church signings, faith-based groups, and I just like to go out and meet
We'll
people.
have to get you up here in Huntington Beach.
I'd
We
love
haven't
to-
done one up here yet.
I would love to do it because I love to hear people's stories.
Right.
And I like to share my story. And like you said, above all else, I just want to encourage people and inspire them, because we really can do so much more so often than we think we can. particularly in this new generation. I
Well,
just want them to have big dreams.
particularly in the world we're living in right now.
Right, yeah. It's like, Joey Buran is going to build you up. He's going to, you know, PT, I say this, I'm not retiring, I'm refiring. And I'm not expiring, I'm not expiring, I'm inspiring. And so I just want to anyone that listens to me, I'll get you to believe you can do anything.
We're going to end tonight's show, and it's so unreal to have my mate on the show. We're going to end it with Lord Tally-Ho Blears introducing the final of the Pipe Masters that Joey wins. And that'll be it for this show. We'll see you again soon.
The final will be Tommy Carroll, all the way from Australia. Wearing black will be Max Medeiros, he's right here from Hawaii. Wearing green, Derek Cole, Hawaii. Wearing a yellow shirt, Robert Bartholomew from Australia. Wearing a blue shirt will be Joey Buran of California. And wearing pink, Mark Occhilupo of Australia. Those are the 6 finalists in the Offshore Masters.
2 weeks ago, I had a dream that I was in the final, and I was halfway through the final, and I was winning, and I saw Derek Cole get a good tube. And in that final, when I was paddling out and Derek Cole got that one tube that he came out of and got clipped at the end, it was my dream right there. And when I had the dream, I woke up and the dream wasn't finished, and now the dream's finished, man. I just thank God for this opportunity, and I'm happy I can live this moment.
Okay, let's give it to him, the champion, the king of the Banzai Pipeline.
There's more of that great stuff to come, but I'm going surfing right now. There's waves out here.